Critics have accused the Duterte administration for hiring online trolls to attack the opposition. Let's get the view now of the election watchdog of the Catholic Church, Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting Executive Director Maribel Buenaobra. Thank you so much for joining us, Maribel. Before we get into the mission of the PPCRV, let's take a look at these troll issues that have been cropping up over the past few days. How influential are these trolls or troll farms in over the last two elections?
Hi, good evening, Rico and the televiewers. Social media was a game changer in 2016 in the sense that it amplified the news, whether it were fake news, misinformation, or disinformation. Now, in 2019, it was also used by a lot of the political candidates. With the pandemic and with the limitation on face-to-face campaigning, social media platforms will continue to be the vehicle for campaigning. And so people need to watch out for misinformation, for fake news. And regarding troll farms, we don't really have anything to say about it, but we are partnering with media organizations that will that are going to be studying about it and making sure that the public gets information on how to be alerted on the fake news and online misinformation.
Yeah, because this misinformation and fake news, Maribel, on social media could basically impact voters who need to make wise and smart choices in a pandemic election year.
I agree, Rico? As I mentioned, it amplified the news, whether it was fake or truth. But this is something which I think a lot of the media outfits, there's a program on democracy and disinformation, which PPCRV is not part of, but which other organizations are part of. They are providing some training on how to watch out for false information. And in our voters education campaign, we do provide some training on ensuring that you watch out for whatever it is that you say first. Make sure that you vet information before you even share information. PPCRV has been ramping up its social media posts because of the pandemic, and we are coming up with FB posts, and we want to make sure that these have all been vetted before we issue them.
And Maribel, the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting has now formally asked dioceses around the country to help encourage people to register for the May 2022 elections. How significant is their participation in voter registration?
Oh, definitely, exactly 114 days before the end of the registration period, which is on September 30. PPCRV has always had a historical partnership with the dioceses since we were founded in 1991. Our dioceses and our diocesan coordinators have helped us in in volunteer recruitment and deployment. In the last election in 2016, I believe there are about 500,000 volunteers that were poll watchers. In 2019, because it was midterm, we had about 300,000. Hopefully, we will come up with the same number of volunteers in 2022 because it is high-stakes election. So that the support of the dioceses in campaigning for voter registration, for example, for both the first-time voters as well as the delisted voters, that is very, very important. Dioceses can work with their youth ministry so that they can encourage the youth voters to go out to the election, go to the local COMELEC offices so that they can register.
But are there also voters who are hesitant to register, those who can vote? Why do you think they're not registering as early as now? What could encourage them to register? And which factors and how will this impact them?
Okay. That's a very good question because it is the pandemic. One factor which prevents people from going to the local COMELEC offices is really the pandemic. They have to make sure that they are going to be safe. But COMELEC does, they do have and they implement health protocols in local COMELEC offices, except that there is a hesitation on the part of perhaps senior citizens, those who have been deactivated, and first-time voters. For a while, teenagers cannot even go out of the house to be able to register. But I think with the downgrading of the quarantine ranking, then perhaps more of the youth will be encouraged to go out and visit their local COMELEC offices to register.
Indeed, Maribel, this is a high-stakes election in 2022.
Yes.
So more of the youth, more of those who have been deactivated, and even OFWs have to register because their voices have to be heard in May 2022.
That's correct, Rico. No, because of the pandemic, I found out that there were about 400,000 OFWs who were repatriated, who returned to the Philippines. They don't know whether they will be deployed or be allowed to return to their work abroad, or even if they even have jobs next year. So what will happen to them? COMELEC should be able to issue some guidelines to help OFWs to register again, so that come May 2022, they will really claim the right to vote.
And how is PPCRV adapting right now to the new normal, Maribel? Will there be any changes, you think, in your operations for the 2022 polls?
There will be definitely, for one thing, because face-to-face campaigning and face-to-face recruitment and training of volunteers will be very limited because of the pandemic. We are using more and more social media platforms as vehicles for training. Right now, we have weekly listening tours with dioceses online. We have that's every week. At the same time, our training of trainers for diocesan coordinators on what to expect, the kind of trainings they will provide to their volunteers will also be conducted online. The plus factor is that we will be able to reach more people because of the online facility. But there's nothing like face-to-face interaction with your trainers and with the youth. And hopefully, if the Philippines does reach herd immunity, face-to-face meetings and trainings will be allowed. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed. For now, I think we need to be able to ensure that our volunteers are going to be safe, and we don't want them to be to face risks on the pandemic.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word, Maribel Buenaobra, Executive Director of PPCRV.